We'll talk about the important facts and events of Saturday next on Freedom. This is our time. In the studio is Mikhail Berno. Hello. Overnight into Saturday, Russia launched another combined strike on Ukraine. Missiles and drones targeted Kyiv and the capital region, as well as other parts of the country. The attack was aimed at the energy sector. So, as a result of the strikes on Horozhny Pladny in the Poltava region, the city is left without electricity, water, or heat. There is still no electricity in Kremenchuk. Critical infrastructure facilities have been damaged in the Kirovohrad and Kharkiv regions as well. In Odessa, a fire broke out at an energy facility in Mykolaiv. Industrial infrastructure was hit by drone attacks. There is damage to the railway in several regions of the country. Naftogaz reports attacks on gas infrastructure. Equipment has been damaged. One employee was injured. 2 people have died, and rescuers are still searching for another person under the rubble. More than 10 people have been injured. At night, Russian drones struck one of the apartment buildings in Dnipro. Russian troops attacked the city several times. After midnight, they struck not only with drones, but also with ballistic missiles. How are the consequences of yet another Russian act of aggression being dealt with? A report by Natalia Husak.
Svetlana's apartment is on the 6th floor of the building entrance that was hit by a Russian attack drone around midnight. She says that at that moment, she, her husband, and their dog were hiding in the bathroom, and when everything quieted down, they wanted to go outside. But they couldn't do it on their own.
When I left the apartment, the stairwell was already gone, and the steps were just hanging there.
In the 9-story building, apartments from the 6th down to the 2nd floor have been destroyed. People say the explosion was so powerful that the blast wave damaged 2 entrances.
The glass went flying. What saved me was that I was turned the other way on the bed. I have a big bed. I was facing the other direction. Because of that, all those shards flew by but didn't hurt me. It was terrifying. There were screams right away. People were shouting. They arrived quickly. For the rescuers, God bless them. They were saving people.
At night, rescuers had to lower people down using special equipment. 28 people were evacuated from the 2 entrances. A short time later, it became known that a woman had died in one of the destroyed apartments. 2 more people had not made contact by morning. The body of another woman was pulled from the rubble closer to noon. At the time of the explosion, she was in the apartment with her husband. 12 people were injured and wounded.
We have a girl in intensive care who fell from the 4th floor to the 2nd floor. She was pinned by a slab. Her legs are badly injured, as I was told.
Sergei arrived at night to help his colleague's family. He was at home with his wife and young child. Friends helped them get down from the 9th floor.
The apartment faces one side in another wing of the building. The door was blown out, but somehow they managed to get out more or less okay. The little girl was very scared. The child is 2 years old. In
this building, Maya's family was renting an apartment. 3 years ago, the woman moved to Dnipro from Bakhmut with her daughter, son-in-law, and 3 grandchildren. She says the children were the most frightened that night.
We've been through so much. Again, people are screaming, people are crying, calling for help. And now tell me, there's nothing left, is there? Look, residential buildings, residential neighborhoods. There's nothing left.
People say that while the aftermath of the attack was being dealt with, more attack drones and missiles flew at the city. Within half an hour, about a dozen explosions went off in the same area.
there was a direct hit, apparently by a Shahid drone. Several apartments were destroyed. There was also a hit on an infrastructure facility. Right now, the debris is still being cleared. The State Emergency Service of Ukraine is working at the scene. People from the damaged apartments have requested relocation. That's one person so far. There is the capacity to urgently relocate up to 120 people.
According to preliminary data, at least 1.5 entrances of the building will have to be dismantled. Their structures are severely damaged and cannot be restored. Residents are not allowed inside. Rescuers are bringing out clothes from the surviving apartments for people. Natalia Huss, Volodymyr Stanzlov, for Freedom TV channel.
Volodymyr Zelenskyy responded to the massive shelling of Ukraine and emphasized that the world must respond to Russian terror. Kyiv appreciates all the steps that partners have already taken, but the new Russian strikes show that pressure on the aggressor country must be increased, the president emphasized.
Ukrainian forces held their ground. Last night, Ukrainian defense forces neutralized more than 400 drones. This is a significant result for the unmanned systems units, army aviation, and mobile fire groups. Electronic warfare is being deployed. Some of the missiles were also shot down. And of course, it's very difficult to counter ballistic and aeroballistic missiles. Only a few systems in the world can effectively intercept such missiles. And to cover our entire territory, we need many more systems and many more missiles for those systems. We are working with our partners, with America, to purchase additional Patriots. We are really counting on support. I thank every leader, every one of our friends in Europe, America, and Asia who helps us, who tries to help.
This night, civilians in the Kirovorod, Mykolaiv, Sumy, Chernihiv, and Odessa regions also came under Russian fire. One person was killed as a result of a Russian attack in the Kharkiv region. According to local authorities, there are injured people in the Kyiv and Poltava regions. In the center of Koshchentynika, Donetsk region, the Russian army deliberately attacked a vehicle belonging to the Perleska humanitarian mission with a drone. In addition to volunteers evacuating civilians, there were also journalists from Spain and Austria in the vehicle. Casualties were avoided because the drone was spotted in advance. However, after the strike, the vehicle is no longer fit for use, the volunteers noted. Another 1,190 Russian occupiers were eliminated by Ukraine's defense forces on the front lines over the past day. Thus, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the total combat losses of the Russian army since the start of the full-scale invasion have already exceeded 1,150,000 soldiers. In addition, 1 Russian armored vehicle, 20 artillery systems, 3 multiple rocket launchers, 1 air defense system, 250 operational tactical UVs, and 72 vehicles were destroyed yesterday. There were 181 combat engagements recorded on the front lines over the past day, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The most intense situation remains in the Pokrovsk direction. There, Russian occupiers unsuccessfully tried to attack the positions of Ukraine's defense forces 62 times. On the Oleksandrivka section of the front, Ukrainian defenders repelled 32 Russian assaults. 19 more were repelled in the Koshchentynika sector. Another 7 attacks were repelled by the armed forces of Ukraine on the North Slobozhansk and Kursk bridgeheads, 11 in the South Slobozhansk sector. In the Kupiansk direction, 9 attempts by the invaders to advance were recorded, 7 in the Lyman sector.
Novopavlivka in the south, the North Lyman, Koshchentynika, Kupiansk, Vovchansk, the Kharkiv direction, there too, the enemy is trying to step up their activity against us, to stretch our forces and prevent us from concentrating reserves to defend Pokrovsk. They want to maintain this balance of forces, because Pokrovsk has turned into yet another meat grinder for the Russian occupiers. That's a fact. And in general, no one is hiding the fact that the concept, not the strategy, of Ukraine's defense forces is to do everything possible to wear down the enemy's offensive potential fully.
They learned together how to carry out combat missions under gunfire, airstrikes, and swarms of drones. Our next story is about the mortar crews of the National Guard of Ukraine. Here's what their rotations look like on the northern Slobozhanske front line. A report by Natalia Belakudry.
Jaeger is 29 years old. He has been on the front lines for 4 years already. He did his mandatory service in the Spartan Brigade. That's where he was when Russia launched its full-scale invasion. At first, he was an infantryman, went through the entire Kharkiv region, and took part in the fighting in Klishchivka, Soldar, and Bakhmut. Over a year ago, he transferred to the Skiff Brigade, where he became a mortar crew commander. Now he covers his brothers in arms.
I was in the infantry. I know what that's like. I take this very seriously, aiming and everything else. I'm the crew commander, but I also run out and help the guys too. I don't just sit back.
Get to the positions as fast as possible and hit the enemy precisely. According to Yager, Mao, because of Russian drones, logistics takes up the lion's share of their work, while actually preparing the weapon on the front line and firing takes just a few minutes.
Depends on the situation, what's going on with the drones. Sometimes you can aim a minute, 30 seconds, or it might take up to 5 minutes.
The site for the mortar. This is the site for the mortar. With it, we aim at the target.
39-year-old Anton, call sign Granada, has mastered the Soviet-style mortar inside and out. He knows all its intricacies, even though before the full-scale war he was far from anything military. He worked in a meat processing plant in Kharkiv. He says he came to the military enlistment office as a volunteer in February 2022, but was turned away. He tried again, and in May 2022 he joined the mortar platoon of the National Guard of Ukraine.
I didn't want to give up my home, my mom, and also that's how it turned out.
Anton defended the Kharkiv, Donetsk, and Luhansk regions. He has dozens of destroyed targets to his name. What the Guardsman is most proud of is the Russian army's armored vehicles that he helped take out of action.
A tank rolled out to the position. We hit it a little, knocked off its track, but then the others finished it off.
Now Yager and Anton are serving together in the North Slobozhanske direction. They are defending Kharkiv and the region. The guys have medals and badges for valiant service, for the defense of Ukraine, and for the defense of Kharkiv. From the very first days of the fighting, they proved themselves to be brave warriors. The guys are doing their job.
The guys are doing their job excellently. I want to say every task we've set they complete, and they do it very well. They keep working no matter what happens. They dig under tarps, dig at night, and camouflage themselves. The position was destroyed the very next day, so they're making a second one.
Both National Guardsmen have just come out of combat positions. They have a few days to rest and spend time with their loved ones. After that, it's back to the front lines and service on the border of Kharkiv region. Natalia Belakudria, Andriy Domovyi from Kharkiv region for Freedom TV channel.
And now, we return to the main topic of the day, the massive Russian attack on Ukraine. Sanctions are needed to deprive Russia of the means to wage the war it started. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy stated this and called on partners to increase pressure on the aggressor. Pressure on Russia is too weak.
The pressure on Russia is insufficient, and any easing of the existing pressure formats only motivates Putin to drag out this war, inflict more harm on our country, our people, and others around the world as well. Weakness in responding to Russia's brazenness, yes, brazenness, gives Russia the motivation to continue this war. There must be so many sanctions, so much pressure, so much support for life that Russia is left with no means to exist under wartime conditions.
Efforts to increase pressure on Russia after its latest attack on Ukraine, which resulted in deaths and injuries. Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha also called on partners.
No one in the world wants this war to continue, except for Russia. Putin does not stop the terror because he still believes he can avoid responsibility for all the crimes committed. To put an end to this war, we need strong international pressure that will force Putin to stop. The war will end when we deprive Russia of its energy revenues, weaken its war machine with long-range strikes, and strip Putin of the illusion that his terror can lead him anywhere except the defendant's bench at a special tribunal. Andriy Sybiha, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, on the social network X.
The Netherlands will increase pressure on Putin to make him immediately stop his war of aggression. This is how the Dutch Minister of Foreign Affairs, David van Wiel, commented on yet another Russian attack on Ukrainian cities and the killing of civilians. He emphasized that his country will continue to support Ukraine.
Subscribe to UATV English and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.